The only thing that I would push back on a little is the whole idea of seeing what you have and going from there. Like that makes sense, but maybe I'm overreacting. But then I don't understand the idea of trading. Doesn't matter what you trade, but trading for Brenton Doyle and DFAing Everson Pereira for him. Like Pereira is the textbook example to me of a guy where you should see what you have. Like he has pop, he can play center field. He's like a fairly intriguing player. I'm honestly pretty shocked that they DFA'd him rather than giving him the rest of the season. And don't get me wrong, I know who Doyle is. I know he's an incredible defender and all that, but it's more so like if you want to see what you have, Pereira's the kind of guy where if Tristan Peters is six for his last 65 or whatever it is, give Pereira, three straight starts in center field, regardless of if it's lefty or righty. See what he can do. I'm surprised that they're pulling the plug that quickly, even after they traded Derek Hill specifically for him to come back in June. Like it just feels very sudden to me. And maybe they just don't view him at the same level as everyone else, and that's fine. I don't need to this become the Pereira episode. It's more so that that's a guy where I think you could have seen what you had, whether in the regular season or in the playoffs, and they're basically just saying no more for that.
I don't know. The Brenton Doyle one is still so interesting to me too, because you really didn't give up much. But what's the evaluation point there? It's what are you hoping to get out of him? Like a backup outfielder and Tristan Peters insurance? Okay, that's fine. But is that really what you needed? Could you have used Mason Adams elsewhere? Like this is an example for me of like no problem trading Mason Adams, no problem moving forward with that. It's more so like if that's how you chose to spend it rather than, hey, maybe a different starting pitcher, whatever, like Nick, to your point, you probably get away with Pereira and call it a day in that sort of role. If you're hoping he's a starter and now you don't trust Tristan Peters long term, that's cool. But I don't know. I just, there are, again, so many still questions with it with me, while still being a passable deadline, to be completely clear.
Well, and I think that's a good point because you did bring that up earlier about Pereira. Obviously, this is a guy the White Sox have kind of been keeping an eye on because it's not like he was someone who was just actively shopped all throughout the market or there was any rumors really about Brenton Doyle. Like I was shocked seeing that name come across, and I kind of had to do a quick check to remind me who he is as a player. Actually, I had a buddy who's a Rockies fan who is very upset about the fact that they lost Brenton Doyle. Apparently, he was a glue guy, but um, it kind of goes back to what in the world are the White Sox doing with the outfield? Because I've been asking myself this all year. But I think, and you hit on one of these points, Laz, and it's something we talked about before. And God, it felt so crazy. It feels crazy to talk about, but it makes you wonder how the White Sox kind of feeling about Tristan Peters right now, because we are continuing to, we kept a lot of outfielders on this roster through the trade deadline, and we found ways to bring him up. So like we have a lot of outfielders on the roster right now, and you would think with a guy like Tristan Peters, who if they were confident in what he's doing right now and what he can continue to do, and we're not hitting the dreaded Linsanity run discussion, maybe there is some worry there about center field, and maybe that's why we continue to see guys kind of move in here, because maybe they don't profile Tristan Peters to be all that great as a power bat and kind of see it as something where, he got good contact on a couple pitches because most of these pitchers probably gave him a meatball because they thought he was going to try to hit a grounder to get a first, move a runner, try to hit a gap to get to first base, or he was going to bunt, because that was kind of the whole joke with Tristan Peters early on, was he was going to bunt. So maybe with that scouting report changing, that's why we're seeing a little bit the difference in Tristan Peters. And when you look at what uh Jesus, I'm spacing on the name, Brenton something that we just
Doyle.
traded for. Brenton Doyle from Colorado. It's okay. I host a baseball podcast. So why would I know these names? Well, when you look at his total profile, fast guy, great glove. Has not had a chance really this season to get his bat under him because he was returning from injury. That kind of fits a little bit of what the Tristan Peters mold is, except Brenton Doyle's got a little bit more proof in the pudding of what he's been able to do. So I'm not sure exactly what we're going to be doing in the outfield. I'm not sure exactly who's going to be starting center field long term. And I'm not sure if we're eventually going to try to move Sam back more into the infield. I'm a little confused on those. Those are still questions I don't have answers to. But Nick, how do you kind of feel about this current situation, and where do you feel like this Brenton Doyle trade was something to bring in to where they felt better about him than where they feel about Pereira here in the short?
Yeah, I mean, it must be that, right? Because when you look at it, like I tweeted out as a joke, like "Welcome back, Adam Engel," but he basically kind of is like
I kind of
2017, 18 Adam Engel, like terrific defender, can't really hit. He hasn't hit for a few years, and in the end, he's fast, right? But I would have really understood this if they made the exact trade they made and they said, he has minor league options. They said, we're going to option Doyle to AAA, work on his swing for the rest of the year, let him work through that, keep, Pereira and Grichuk in the majors and just roll with that. Then I would think, okay, cool. You have Doyle as somebody you might want to give a major league chance to in 2027 with a new swing, kind of like what you've been doing with Pereira himself and with Curtis Mead, Vargas trying to reinvent him a little bit. I would have really respected that. But
shout out to
they're saying
Curtis
we
Mead,
want to
by
have
the
him
way,
in the
for being a
majors.
big trade deadline name. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I
then
mean,
getting hurt right away is crazy.
right. Yeah. I mean that for Mead, like he got hit by a pitch, right, or something like that. Like I felt bad seeing
Mm-hmm.
that. But yeah, my point on Doyle is that I would have understood it if it was like a long-term plan, and maybe it kind of is. But instead, they're saying he is currently our second center fielder essentially, and he's the guy who's going to pinch hit late in a game when a lefty is up against Tristan Peters. Like I don't like that because he's not a good hitter.
And he's not a power hitter on top of that. Like that was my biggest, maybe, if there was one thing I wish the White Sox did that they didn't, other than pitching, it was get someone who can swing a bat late in games. Randall Grichuk's fine, but if it's a lefty, and that's really the only option. And I guess now Brenton Doyle, who's not a real home run hitter. So I just that would be my biggest gripe if I had one, is just to your point, Nick. Like if this might be a long-term play, but at the same time it doesn't help the short term either. So it's so weird, the situation things are kind of in. And I know that's a function of this team was not supposed to be in first place at the trade deadline when they started this year, and I completely acknowledge that. But I do think at a certain point you gotta react to the new set of facts that are in front of you. And I feel like they tried to do that and then still left things like the Brenton Doyle one where I'm like, all right, like cool. Could be the future center field if Peters doesn't work out. Doesn't help for when the Sox are down 1 in the 9th with nobody on base and you need someone to just run into one. And your options are Drew Romo, Brenton Doyle, and Randall Grichuk / Austin Hayes. So